Okay, so I think that we hear repeatedly about how the National Liberal Party has a problem with women, but let's be straight here. It's the traditional party of women that actually has the real problem with women, if we really break it down. I mean, they're the ones who have seemed to completely forgotten what a woman is. In many circumstances, they've actually been facilitated the change in the definition of woman, which only leads to the erosion of our sex-based rights. I mean, and to these Labor state politicians like Shannon Fentiman, is she not the Minister for Women? And they run on liberal feminist campaigns. Like, they run on the back of liberal Marxist feminism, like women are oppressed, and but then, like, when it really comes down to what matters to women, I mean, she's basically facilitated a total erasure of women's rights. So, I mean, how come... I mean, my question to someone like Shannon Fentiman is, when you change the definition of woman and you allow for things like self-ID, why don't you also get those little girls who are being abused, all those women who are the victims of domestic violence at the hand of their intimate partner, why don't you just get them to identify out of being women or identify out of being a little girl? Do you think that that will prevent them from being abused? I don't think so. This is like the house of cards just falls so easily. And Shannon Fentiman isn't a great example anyway. I'm pretty sure that one of her staffers was found with CP on their computers anyway. So and anyway, the whole like Queensland Labor Party and their loss of, it was like a few years ago that they lost all the child protection records anyway. So I don't know. I don't know if they're really even a good example to hold up for this. Is the cherry on top of this not having a deputy PM who is a lesbian, who's been so outspoken about the rights of lesbians, and therefore, and now in this whole gender ideology nonsense, we're seeing an epidemic of young gay girls being prematurely transitioned into quasi-men. And these are just young lesbians. They're just gender non-conforming girls. And they're just confused, and now they're being changed into men. They are undergoing essentially gay conversion therapy, so they're being turned from gay girls into quasi-straight men. And we even have a deputy PM of the Labor Party who is a lesbian, and she's been completely silent on the issue. And if anything, if they haven't facilitated the silence of women, they've been complicit in it. And what is worse? And even with the mainstream media's censorship on this issue, if you speak to everyday women, and I'm talking about women who are in like rural areas, who are in like the Labor base areas, and even women who are in like privileged North Shore electorates, like, they see this for what it is. And not just Labor, but also in their independent candidates like Zali Steggall. She is a fierce advocate for allowing transgender men to compete in biological women's sports, and we can go into that for another day. The women see right through this. Like, they see that Labor no longer supports women, and they see that the independents also independent women don't have an independent thought in their brain. And like, Labor needs to realize that there's so many women who are actually way more women than they realize tapped on and tuned into this issue, and they've noticed, and they've noticed their silence, and they've noticed the silencing of women. And essentially, look at the record in Parliament. Pauline Hanson and One Nation has been the only party that has supported women. She is the one that showed up to let women speak in Canberra, and she spoke, and she has been the one who has been pushing for just an inquiry into puberty blockers in this Senate. Just an inquiry. At this point in Australia, the only party or person representing women is actually One Nation and Pauline Hanson. Labor has completely lost it. The Liberals, well, we didn't have much hope in them anyway, but they may want to, like, they can have certain beliefs on this issue, but in the end, like, look what happened to Moira Deeming in the Liberal Party in Victoria, and overwhelmingly they've been very silent on this too. So at this point, It's really the party of women who has the real women's issue, and Labor is losing women. And unless they really start to stand up and protect us, they've lost so many votes, and it's just going to go to different parties.